Let's get started. We got a great lineup. We'll try to get right to it and spend a lot of time on questions. So be thinking about what you'd like to know, and we'll make sure we cover everything. All right. These are the people that you will hear from. Rochelle, Cassie, and Brenda are awesome, and they're all part of the Prenda core team. And then you'll hear from several people who are Prenda Guides. So they'll be able to share a direct experience of what this is like. And I'm excited to hear from all of them. My name's Kelly. I'm the founder of Prenda. I started this a few years ago in my house. And so you can see a little photo here. This is me being silly with one of the classes. Basically for 2.5 years, I had a microschool of children in my home. The first 1.5 years was me as the guide. And this is my second class. These are a bunch of third and fourth graders. This, I think, was Halloween, so you can see there's some shenanigans going on. There was, before this, a group of 5th and 6th and 7th graders that was just an incredible group of kids. It's been fun to see them go on and thrive in high school environments. It's now been a couple years. And then after I was done, my wife was a guide in our home with a group of kindergarten through 2nd graders. So we've had kids in our home for 2.5 years. I guess it's a moment to just kind of think about that and what that means. And we'll talk a lot about logistics and how this works, but I just wanted to kind of share the purpose of all of this, which is looking at these little kids. And one of these kids in this picture is my daughter. She's dressed as a cheerleader there in the middle. You look at these kids and you say, they're fun, they're silly, they're quirky, they're figuring things out. And they're also just sitting full of so much potential and so much opportunity ahead of them. And there were moments during all of this where I could see that clearly. And I was able to sort of look at them as the human beings that they are, the infinitely valuable, amazing people, and these people of great potential. And I could share a lot of stories. I won't, because we're going to hear other people's stories. But to me, this is what guiding is imagining moments 20 years from now and 50 years from now, and being one small part in a human life. And to be able to do it in a small group like this means that you can really get to know these kids and understand them. And I get almost overwhelmed just thinking about how much I care about each of the kids that came through my microschools and getting to know all of these kids. And I hope you'll have a similar experience as you look into this and think about sharing your gifts and talents for helping these kids and setting them up on a path that will be successful and happy in their life. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm just grateful you're here. And like I said, we've got a great program here to hopefully give you lots of information, lots of answers, but be ready to ask questions as well. Now it's Paige's turn. Paige Donaldson just finished guide training. So she is right at the beginning of this journey. And we invited her for the purpose of just being able to kind of share, having gone through a lot of what we're about to tell you. So Paige, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been super excited all day. So I just wanted to share a little bit of our story, my family's story. So I have 3 kiddos, and my oldest, he was getting ready to go into 6th grade, but the year of his 5th grade year was not a good year. He cried a lot. He dealt with bullying. Kids made fun of him because he was chunky. And it just wasn't good. And we were so sad as parents to see him be so sad and start to hate not only school, but himself. And the way he started to talk about himself, it was a concern. And so we started looking around and trying to figure out what to do. And we found out about Prenda. And I was like, what? I've never heard of that before. And so we looked into it and talked to our friend who had told us about it a little bit more. And we decided to go for it after thinking it over and praying about what to do. We went for it and we enrolled him, and he was super excited. to know that it would be a small class. And he started to change right before our eyes. He went from a child who would be so grumpy to go to school to a child who was, okay, Mom, when are you going to take me to school? I cannot wait to get to school. I am so excited. To seeing him go from the self-hatred talk and saying he was stupid and I can't do this and nobody likes me, to I can do this, Mom. I haven't mastered it yet, but I got this. It was so exciting to see. And to the point where we watched him grow all year long, and we watched him become excited about math of all things. Like, my mind was blown. And so we watched, and the whole time we're watching, we have our first grader who is dealing with things at school. And I'm going, maybe we need to take her out, maybe we need to put her into Prenda and see, if that will make the difference, because we're seeing it in our other one. And so we did, and it took us a while, but it was because of the thing. I asked her teacher, and she's a first grader, she's 6 years old, and I went in for conference, and she goes, well, there's nothing good about her. And I was like, she's 6. There has to be something good about her. And she's like, no, there is nothing good about her. And I went, well, thank you for everything you've done, but we're taking her out and we're going to put her in Prenda, and she's going to do wonderful things because somebody is going to see what she has to offer and give her the room to find out, be curious, and see who she is, instead of making her be in this box that obviously was not working. And so we took her out. And literally within the first 2 weeks, it was like a whole different child. She was happy again. She wasn't crying all the time. And we were like, oh my gosh, like, I was so overjoyed by what I was seeing. Like, I started talking to everybody I came in contact with. I was like, oh, you have to know about Prenda. Like, this will do wonderful things for your child. Like, you think they're doing good now? Just wait, just like put them out there and let them see what they're capable of doing, because it's amazing. And so I decided I wanted to become a guide and teach other kids, or guide other kids the way my kids have been guided, and help others see that they are capable of amazing things. And so that's kind of my story. And like I said, I could talk about it forever. So, and our third child, we're putting him in this year. So we watched all of them just change, and the talk about Prenda, we talk about it all the time. And it's now a staple in our home, talking about collaborating and creative, and, and the word yet has become a huge deal for my family. And it even works on husbands. It works like on everything. Like, no, we don't have it now, but we will. Yes, like, it's coming down the pike. Like, so it does wonderful things, not only for the children, but for the families. So it makes the family so much more harmonious. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to go with it. So the way that we just work now as a family is so much better when everybody is happy. And I contribute that wholeheartedly to Prenda. So that's our story. And I am so grateful to be here and share that with everybody. Thank you.
Paige, that's amazing. I love all of that. And I'm so excited to see you be a guide.
Thank you.
Tate, I'm going to have you turn the slides back on. My name's Rochelle. I've been working at Prenda for a little over 1.5 years and have the opportunity to work with all of these guides. And it's just incredible to watch them become just a more true version of themselves. I don't even know how to put that, but they find a version of themselves that they haven't found before oftentimes. So we have two options at Prenda. So Prenda Microschool is what we talk about most often. So it's 5 to 10 students with a minimum of 2 families being involved. And then we have Prenda Family, and we've started talking more about Prenda Family now because of what's happening in the world, especially with COVID, where a lot of parents are feeling like they may not want to send their kids. Like, this is a really safe way to make sure that kids aren't exposed. In both of these cases, there is an application process and a becoming part and some training. So for both, and we'll get into that, but just if you are looking at this and going, I'd really like to do this, but I'm not comfortable having other kids in my home right now, Prenda Family may be the right option for you. And if you're like, you know what, I really would love to have my kids still have a small social environment in the craziness of the world, then you could look at Prenda Microschool. So we're gonna show you a little bit about our model and start off by sharing a video with you. It's our day in the life of a Prenda student video.
A Prenda Microschool is a new kind of educational environment.
When a child walks into their classroom, most of the time they'll start with Conquer.
In Conquer mode, when students come in, it's time to start Conquer mode. They get onto their computers, they work on their Conquer goals. They go into Prenda World, that's the name of our software, and then they'll see their goals page. Each student sets their own goal for their learning for that day. And then they'll have a little meeting with their peers
Where the kids will gather and say out loud what their goals are. This is what I'm going to accomplish today. Facilitated by an adult, but not driven by them. This is led by children.
It sets them up for a life of being able to know, like, when I set a goal today, I'm going to work my hardest to get to it.
So then they get going. They decide what they want to work on.
The kids will work at their own pace.
They can choose if they want to work in math first or reading first. This is where you see kids owning their education.
When a child is stuck, they'll get up and go find someone else in the class that does know the answer. They get out of their chair and help each other.
And then at the end, they have a little debrief where they talk about, did they meet their goals? And if they didn't, what could they do next time?
Sometimes they're really in the grips of, fighting this. I love those moments because this is where kids have to dig deep and they have to find that they truly are capable of overcoming repeated failure and accomplishing their goal.
At Prenda, the second part of our day is called Collaborate.
This is a face-to-face group interaction that involves everyone.
Activities that we've designed specifically to enhance their abilities to communicate with each other.
Socratic discussion,
Debate.
dive into a historical concept.
Typically, you have a student leader who gives everyone assignments, and then after everyone's had time to research their topic, then they come together and they have a whole discussion.
Sharing, debating, discussing.
The whole purpose of that period of time is them learning to interact socially in a healthy way.
To be able to communicate how they feel about something with compassion and respect.
Create mode is the final portion of the day.
They take all of the things that they've learned theoretically in Conquer and they apply them.
It's called Create because they're going to have a product at the end.
It's all project-based learning.
They've made a movie,
Writing a biography about someone that they know.
or they've made a diorama.
Engineering apparatus to protect an egg when you drop it.
They can create their own project.
And then they can actually share it with other classmates. It helps create purpose in students' learning.
Our mission is empower learners.
That's what we get to focus on every day. What gets me really excited is when I go into a microschool and I see kids who are happy.
It's been truly astonishing to see this fire light in the eyes of so many children.
The one most powerful evidence I see that what we're doing is working is that kids are happy to go to school. Awesome. It's weird to watch yourself on a video. Just want everyone out there to know that. Cassie was feeling that. Kelly was feeling that. I do love that, the way that you can see what our day looks like. So the question is, we've done a lot of online info sessions and things like that, but we've sort of geared them towards parents and student experience. So tonight we really want to make sure that if you have interest in becoming a guide, you really have an understanding of what guides do. So taking that same sort of framework for the day that we saw in the video, this is what the day in the life of the guide looks like. They start out, like we've talked about, with this community circle where they share their goals, and the guide is just connecting, like making those connections. I feel like, I don't know if I should read this to you or let you read it yourselves. But in Conquer time, the ability to just be there for your students as they're each individually working on a software, and it's so helpful that that they can help each other. And if you have a student that has a lot of need, there's a possibility for that without leaving anyone behind. And then collaborate. One of the really exciting things about collaborate is very early on, the guide will model what being a leader of one of these experiences looks like. And then very quickly, the student gets to be that leader, and the guide is just there to help make sure they're prepared and ready to go. And then in create, just helping kids like figure out like, what are you most passionate about? Like, those are the questions that guides get to ask, instead of like, here are these things that you have to do. It's like, what are you most interested in finding out about? And so that's what a day looks like. So in becoming a guide, we're going to jump right into this. And the first question we're going to ask is, what does this look like? Like, what is the day or the process of becoming a guide? And we'll break down all of these. So really briefly, like, as you can see, first you make the decision, then you reach out to us. There's an interview process. We give you all of the onboarding and training you need. You help add your students in, and then we help you set up your school. So and like I said, we'll walk through all the pieces of this so that you get a sense of what that looks like. So first of all, like, the decision to become a guide is, it's different for every single person. Tate, I'm gonna go ahead and have you turn the slide off for just a minute. I'm gonna like get eye to eye with everybody here, because becoming a guide, literally, so I've interviewed almost every guide that's in Prenda right currently. And I would say there are almost as many, there are things that are commonalities between them, and then there are nuances, almost as many nuances as there are people who are guides. And the really interesting piece for me is to see both of those parts. So some of the commonalities are former educators who just feel like they became teachers because they want to make a difference in kids' lives, and then they got into teaching, and there was this, like, Cassie describes it as a box that you can't stand up all the way in. There just isn't the opportunity to really serve students in a way that is meaningful for them. And they've come to a place where they feel like they aren't actually serving students in that system. And so some of them have still been teaching this year, and they reached out to us and they're going to guide next year. Some of them have already left the profession, and we sort of like brought them back in to become teachers. The other place where I think it's really important to understand is you don't need to be a teacher to be able to do this. As I first heard about Prenda, I talked to Kelly on the phone one day when I very first heard about it, and he started telling me what it was about. And I had this thought about this huge number of really passionate adults that exist in our world who haven't had, like, life didn't give them the chance to have an education, to have a college education, a teaching certificate, but their life did give them the opportunity to learn how to love and support children. We want those people to be guides. I interviewed a woman in a rural area in Arizona not too long ago, and she got pretty emotional when we were going through that interview, because she said to me, she's like, I didn't see myself as a good student in school, so I've never seen myself as somebody that could help my kids. And in understanding that we acknowledged her abilities as really powerful and that she would become a great guide, it just opened up her eyes to what she was capable of in a way that nobody had ever allowed her to see in herself before. So to me, the decision to become a guide can be for almost any reason, but it's going to be personal, and it's going to be, it's courage. It takes a lot of courage to decide to be a Prenda guide, to open up your home, to bring these kids in, and the level of fulfillment is, and it's difficult. There are days that are really, really hard, and sometimes you'll like cry in the closet, but those days are offset by days when you see kids whose lives have changed. Okay, so Tate, if you can give me that slide back. So if you have been, like, some people are like, but I'm not a teacher. And even those of you that have been teachers, this may be helpful for you. So our guides don't know everything. You don't need to, in Prenda, the adults do not need to have all the answers. That's actually one of the most powerful parts of our model. They don't lecture, they don't grade papers, they don't create lesson plans, and they don't deal with the internal politics that if you've been a teacher, sometimes that happens. What they do is, like, their job is the emotional support of these children. And I found very quickly, as Kelly talked about his wife being a K2 guide, it was amazing to me how quickly she understood and loved those 8 children, like deeply understood them, because there were only 8 of them, and her primary job was to emotionally support them. So that's what guides don't do and do. So let's talk a little bit about the next step in the process. So you'll reach out to Prenda and you'll fill out an application. And when you fill out that application, we're going to reach out to you and give you a chance to have a conversation with one of our tour guides, we call them. So our guides are the people that when you call in to learn about being a guide, we've hired our guides who want to have an additional role at Prenda to be tour guides and walk you through and answer all your questions about that. So once you've contacted us, we're going to move into the interview process. So there's a few steps. There's 3 steps there. One is you set up a call. We call it a pre-interview to get all your questions answered. Then if you haven't seen our core values, these are our 5 core values. We live by these core values, and we send you a form that asks you questions about your life in relation to our core values so that we can feel from what you tell us if this feels like a really good fit. And then we'll have a check-in with you and convert you to a guide and get you kind of move down the road into training.
All right, thank you, Rochelle. So the next part that you go through as a guide is the onboarding and the training. So this process takes approximately 2 weeks to complete. 1 week is for the onboarding and the online training, and then 1 week for the live training. So for the online training, it consists primarily of like reading written material, watching videos, answering questions about the Prenda Learning model, and we try to make it a little bit entertaining, have a GIF or 2 in there. And it gives you all the basic, like the nitty-gritty details about how to set up and run your microschool. And then while you're doing the online training, you can be working on these steps here of the onboarding process. This is outlined in the dashboard in Prenda World. And as you can see, each step of the process is outlined with a task that you need to complete. This also provides a really good way for you to know when the Prenda team has reviewed your documents or received the necessary items for you to move ahead. You can also see right here that when it's checked, you'll know that it's done. The first thing that you need to do is get an IVP fingerprint clearance card, which costs $75, and that's your responsibility to get that. We can help you through that process. And then we invite you to join our guide community on a platform called Slack. That's where you can meet other guides in your geographical area or guides that have students the same grade range as yours. And then you can also ask the Prenda team member questions. You also do a background check, and this is for anyone that's going to be in your home during school hours who's over the age of 18. Then you also do the contract documents. All Prenda guides are 1099 independent contractors, which means you pay your own taxes and you set your own schedule and you provide the safe location for your microschool. You set a start date for your microschool, and then you schedule a final interview with one of the Prenda team members. And then at that point, if everything's complete, then you're cleared to become a microschool guide. So yay, that's the exciting part. And then you can start adding students to your microschool. So that's the onboarding process. And like I said, that can happen concurrently with the online training. And so the online training is done via Zoom with a Prenda guide trainer. And this is a person who's been a guide or is currently a Prenda guide, and they'll walk you through the whole learning model as a student, working in all the online programs and experiencing Prenda together. This is a really great opportunity to get to know the other guides in training and to get your questions answered by your guide trainer. We offer these live training sessions almost every week, and they consist of 3 2-hour sessions during the day or in the evening, so you can choose. So once you've completed the onboarding and the training, you have your final interview, and then you're cleared to be a guide, and now you can add students to your microschool. Ultimately, it's the responsibility of the guide to add students to their microschool, and we encourage you to use social media platforms that you're on and spread the word about your Prenda microschool. We provide some physical and some digital resources for you to help you to tell people about Prenda. And we also provide some coaching to help you know how to talk about it with people in your network. And once you've completed the online training, you'll be able to create a profile with a photo and a personal bio. And parents can see that when they look on on the Prenda School website when they're looking for a micro school. And here is an example of one of our guides and her profile. And although this is a really great resource, the effort that is put into finding students is really 90% the guide and 10% Prenda. So just know that going in. And now that you have your students, then you're ready to start setting up your micro school. So there's a few things that you need to do to get ready to set up that micro school. You'll order the supplies for your students, which includes a computer and other supplies for your micro school. Then you'll set up your account in Prenda World, setting up your calendar and making sure everything is ready to go. You'll hold a parent orientation, and you'll also set up your first 2 weeks so that everything's ready to go when school starts. So that is basically, in a nutshell, what it is to set up your micro school. And Cassie is now going to share with you what happens after school starts.
Okay, so after school starts, Rochelle talked a little bit about what the guide is doing during the day in terms of the role the guide is filling during Conquer, Collaborate, and Create. But this part that we want to go over talks about how you are supported and continually trained after you become a guide. So if you're feeling like, okay, so I get to this step, but now school's in session, what do I do? We spent the last 6 months really talking with guides and figuring out the skills we believe that guides need in order to run a healthy micro school. And we found that there's about 13 skills that a guide needs to really support students to become empowered learners. And so we've created a resource for guides that contains videos and activities and tools for guides to really master those skills and start to empower their students. So that's one tier of support that we offer. And then we also offer a mentoring program where you will be assigned a mentor who will be with you for the entire school year. And they will have one-on-one monthly mentor sessions where you can help set goals, figure out things that you need help improving on. And their role really is just to support you and make sure we are managing your needs and the needs of your students. You'll also have an opportunity to meet with other guides once a week in a cohort meeting led by your mentor. Traditionally, that's going to be geographically, if we can manage that, if there's enough guides in your area, where you get together once a week, anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. And it's just an opportunity for you to realize that there's other people in this with you, that you're not alone, that other people are having this collective experience, and to share your successes and your struggles and get ideas from each other and just really have a community and support there. And in that, you are also going to be in the Slack that Brenda talked about, where there's over 100 other guides that you can communicate with and build community together. And that's really, once you become a guide, just recognizing that there's an incredible level of support offered to you as you go through this process, so that really we can make sure that you have all the tools to empower learners. And then I've actually asked Jessica Walker, who is a guide right now and is working to be a mentor for next year, to share her experience of doing a little bit of this program last year. So if Jessica, if you would like to share, that'd be great.
So being a guide is wonderful. I can't praise this experience enough for my life and the kids that I had in my micro school. When you start out being a guide, whether you have education experience or not, every year is a new year. A group of kids is new. And so sometimes that can feel overwhelming, and you're alone with the group of kids all day. It can feel a little bit isolating. And so it's really wonderful to know that you have support. If something isn't going, or you want to share something that was amazingly successful, you have a wonderful support system. You have a mentor who you can call or text to, and if they don't have the answer, they will find it. And they will let you know that you are supported and encourage you. And the The meetings for the cohorts are just so wonderful. You get to know your fellow guides, even though they may live hundreds of miles away from you. It's great. You all have this shared belief that kids can do, and belief that your job is to help guide them. You're not going to lecture them. You're not going to preach at them. You're going to help them their own love of learning. And it's wonderful to meet with other people who think that and feel that way. And it's been wonderful in the meetings, be able to talk, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and find out you're not the only one, or this is going really well, and we'll share an experience that's going well, and you can take that and adapt it to your mind. And so it's just been it's really vital to be successful, to lean into the community that's there, and to be supportive and to accept that support, because everyone just wants everyone to be successful. It's all out of a place of caring. It's all done, all the feedback, all the support, it's all done out of a place of wanting to offer support and wanting the guide and the students to be successful. So it's just been a wonderful experience, and I've never been at a school where I felt so much support and so validated for what I do as a guide. And so I'm hoping to take that into a guide mentor in supporting other guides.
Thanks, Jessica. Really appreciate you sharing that. Tate, are we to our question and answer period of our time together? So we'll start with some frequently asked questions that get asked sort of all the time, and then we can take any questions that we haven't answered in this. As you can see, we describe it as two flavors of Prenda, K2 and 3rd through 8th. So the K2s, both of them are a minimum of 5, maximum of 10. For K2s, as you can see from the chart, 16 hours at school, and then we have what are called bonus hours. And so for the K2s, they do 4 hours at home, things like reading, sports, music. 3rd through 8th graders are in school together 20 hours a week. And just to note, most of our classrooms, the guides get to choose their schedules, and they also get to choose the number of days a week they meet. Most of our K2s are 4 4-hour days, and most of our 3rd through 8th are 4 5-hour days. And yeah, so that's that one. What else do we have on here? So what are the requirements? Provide a location for a class, 5 to 10 students to meet comfortably with it. We say safe, comfortable for kids to work in, and has really great internet access. Some sort of experience with kids is a must. It doesn't have to even be paid experience necessarily, but you having spent time with kids is a really important part. You having opted in at some point in your life to work with kids in some way is an important requirement that we have of our guides. But like we've already said, we don't require formal teaching experience. We get a lot of questions about safety. What do you do? Because these classes are in homes, what are we doing about safety? So any adult that'll be at home during the day, we do a background check on them. Our guides obtain a fingerprint clearance card and provide references and get liability insurance as well. We help them with that process. So I'm gonna can you lead us on telling us what the questions are?